How's everybody doing today? Happy Friday to you. What's Jim Traber's Happy Friday music? What is that called again? Be Happy Friday music. I need to have that playing whenever we come in. Be Happy Friday music. Lift the mood in here a little bit for you, right? All right. Well, thanks everybody for being here. Kind of mid-April and in the building, and so a lot of stuff going on, and just open it up for comments or questions.
The speaker has announced some language. The bill hasn't actually been filed yet, but on this immigration and border bill, have you seen that? What do you make of that bill so far?
Yeah, I haven't seen it. I've talked to the speaker about it, and we obviously have to know who's coming into our country, and I think it's an effort to really try to stop the tide and make sure, since the Biden administration is not securing our southern border, we think that President Biden has the tools that he needs. He's not doing it, and so states are then forced to stop the migration from coming. So when you automatically can get let into a country with all the services, all the free medical care, all the things that are happening, then that's creating this mass migration. They have to go back to the Trump era policies, which is remain in Mexico. And so we believe in immigration the right way. We need more workforce, but the way it's happening is not working. And so states are forced to try to do other things to stop that tide of migration. And so supportive of that.
Did you support Senator Lankford's bill, his effort to do an immigration reform package? You got a lot of flack for it in the past.
Yeah, I don't want to weigh in or criticize. I don't know what all the stuff that was happening in D.C. at that time. Do we need a strong border? 100%. But we know, I've personally been in the White House with Secretary Mayorkas, also President Biden, and asked them, why aren't they using the tools in their tool belt that President Trump used to secure the border? And you just get a lot of noise. You get a lot of spinning in a circle. Well, we need more money. We need Congress to pass something. We don't believe that. They do not need more money and more bill to actually change the policy to remain in Mexico and stop this tide that's coming in.
So would you consider setting up a new unit like within the Oklahoma Highway Patrol to target illegal immigration? And what kind of financial or technical assistance would you provide for local law enforcement agencies?
Well, we'll see what happens with that bill, but no, we're not targeting anyone. We're just saying that this is not going to be. Oklahoma's not a sanctuary state. We will follow the rules in the state of Oklahoma. You have to apply for work visas the proper way. I've been a proponent for H-1B visas at state controlled level. So we know that our construction companies and manufacturing, and we need workforce. And so we want legal workforce that is contributing to society 100%. That's totally separate than border security. And right now we're talking about border security. How do we secure our border? You talk about the people on the terrorist watch list. You talk about the Chinese nationals that are coming through, the illegal entry into our country. It's what it is. It's illegal. And so it's a mind boggling to most Americans that we're not enforcing existing law. And the best example, the way I explain it, there's already these ports of entry. It's illegal to enter anywhere except these ports of entry. And they're cutting razor wire. Governor Abbott's doing everything he can to secure the border, and we stand with him for that effort.
Morning, Governor.
Good morning.
Is it on? Okay, there we go. Hey, this is in regards to SJR 34 and the Judicial Nominating Committee. So the coach himself, Barry Switzer, you might know him, sent a letter saying no, basically, to SJR 34 yesterday. He said it would remove the people from the judicial selection process for appellate judges, and allow the governor to pick the new judge. So Coach says no, and he says it should be approved by the people, not necessarily one person. What do you have to say about that?
I wonder which lobbying group got a hold of him and paid him money to write a letter. So, but the federal system works very well, and if the legislature puts that on my desk, we'll sign it. When I first came into office, there were 9 different sections in the state that the Supreme Court had to be chosen from. And so it's really problematic. We want the best and brightest minds on our state Supreme Court. And when you're limited by geography, it's a problem. When you're limited by who's going to go through the process of this board, it limits. Sometimes you have to recruit the best and brightest. I've learned that through my cabinet secretaries and actually going out. These people are very, very successful CEOs or running big law firms. And when the governor comes and says, hey, have you thought about serving your state? It's different than actually just applying through some kind of committee and trying to get through to the governor's desk that way. So I'm supportive generally of giving the governor the authority. I'm the one that's elected by Oklahomans, and the next governor is going to be elected by Oklahomans. Why do we tie the governor's hands behind his back and create all these boards and commissions and unelected bureaucrats that then are driving policy for the state of Oklahoma? And so generally, I believe that you got to have one neck to choke, right? And it's the governor's. Or if it's not the governor and you want to tie the governor's hands, there's nothing that really the people of Oklahoma understand or can go. They can't choke this unelected board that nobody knows who it is. So give the governor the authority. And let's put, if Oklahomans wanted my opponent's values, they would have elected for my two opponents, but they wanted my values. So I never apologized for putting my values of limited government and lower taxes and free market systems and a fairness in our judicial system on these different boards and commissions. And that's what Oklahomans elected me to do. So I love it. I think it's great.
Governor, we're talking a little bit about legal matters, and I wanted to know whether you.
There's your.
Oh, I'm sorry. We talked a little bit about legal matters, and I wanted to know if you've tracked some of the legislation that the House and Senate are considering. One is to decrease the threshold for felony burglary, I believe it is, and then there's some other things that maybe run a little contrary to some of the criminal justice reform that I think you have supported in the past, trying to lower the prison population, things like that. I mean, there's even a bill that would make it a felony punishable 2 to 5 years in prison if you knowingly transmit HPV. And so I'm just curious if you have concern that the legislature is again looking at rolling back some of the efforts that you've supported in the past on criminal justice reform.
Yeah, I'm very proud of our state. We are a law and order state. I've given our law enforcement pay raises. I've given our Department of Corrections pay raises. We're going to support law enforcement first and foremost. And then when I think about the second chances and how our system's set up, I compare us to other states. When I took office, we were last place in incarceration rates, okay? So Oklahomans think that's weird too. I do too. I don't think our people are any different than any other state. Why were we last place in incarceration rates? And so I've gone about to say, hey, there's some people that we're locking up that we're just mad at. We're not really afraid of. They're not a danger to society. So let's figure that out. And we've moved 10 spots. I've saved the taxpayers hundreds of millions of dollars by closing 4 prisons, 2 private prisons, just since I've been in office since 2019. So I'm not going to let us go backwards on some of those criminal justice things. There's sentencing reform that I want to get through this year as well, that I think we've been negotiating with the district attorneys that hopefully we'll get across the finish line. And then there's a real problem with some of this smash and grab and some of the things that are happening to Quick Trip and Walmart. And if you know that you can go steal something and it's under $1,000 and you're immune from prosecution, that's a problem. So I'm very sensitive to fixing that for Quick Trip and keeping those employees safe, because you talk about the employee safety issue, that's a big problem if they're trying to stop or trying to protect their assets. And then there's other further violence that happens inside those retail establishments. So specifically, I don't know exactly where the bill is, but I'm very, I want to help our retail establishments make sure that we can prosecute, give our DAs the tools to get bad people off the street. Okay. But I'm not going to let it go backwards. And that's why we need sentencing reform. Sentencing reform, think about this for a second. It's not fair for somebody to get 30 years in this county and to get 1 year in this county or probation. And that kind of stuff happens. So let's determine in our committees, what we've done is we brought all the groups together to say, what is this crime punishable? What sentence should this person have? And then let's have it more uniform. So let's bring the flexibility or the scope of the punishment and kind of bring those in a little bit. And Texas went through that. And so that's one of the sentencing reform things I'd like to get across the finish line as we're making sure that we can punish these bad apples that are going into these convenience stores and retail establishments and knowing exactly what they're doing and stealing under a certain amount. But the other problem is if we go to $500, some of the tribal laws are at $1,000. So again, I always talk about that. We can't have two sets of systems. You can't have a Hispanic, a white person, a black person getting a felony for stealing something at $500, and Kevin Stitt, as being a member of the Cherokees, I don't get punished until it's over $1,000. That's weird. Oklahomans think that's weird. I'll continue to remind people we have to have one set of rules regardless of your race. It's like I'm in a twilight zone having to explain that.
Good morning. This week there was a report, number of employees that have left the State Department of Education is up to 130 now, since Superintendent Walters took over. Democrats are calling for investigations, impeachments. There's some very quiet Republicans you're hearing maybe saying the same thing. What's your take on the state of that agency right now? And do you think any investigations are warranted into why are all these people leaving?
So we've got 130 people that have left the State Department of Education. Jinx Public Schools, nobody's left Jinx. Nobody's left Tulsa. So you're telling me that we've lost 130 bureaucrats up here in Oklahoma City, and we've still got our education system rolling across the state? Sounds like a good thing to me.
Governor, the relationship between you and the Senate is not the most positive. The budget is still being discussed and debated. Have you met with Senator Tree, and what are your plans to get the budget on ice?
So the first part of your question was the relationship's not good with
Well, it doesn't seem to be very positive right now.
with who?
Senator Tree.
Okay.
Senate leadership.
Listen, I'm not going to speak to that. That's your words, but no, the Senator Treat's not asked us or showed us any kind of Senate budgets. We've seen them roll that out. We love transparency. I'm asking for a budget before the end of the session so Oklahomans can understand what's happening. We need to get that budget done. I know there's a lot of talk between the House and the Senate right now. And again, big picture, we cannot spend, we've got to spend what our reoccurring revenue is, right? So what is our income? Let's make sure that we don't obligate Oklahomans more than our income, right? So that's one thing. And then we have to maintain a savings account. So we're in a great situation. The economy is booming, but I'm not gonna be a proponent to blow through all of our savings. Are there strategic investments we want to make? But let's keep around $5 billion or a little under in our savings side, and then let's strategically invest in things. But let's not raise all these agencies where now we're obligated for more than our actual income is, and that's pretty common sense to me. I think Oklahomans agree with me when they sit down at their budget at the end of the year. They're not going to design their budget to spend more than their income, and so why would I do that as Oklahoman? So as long as the House, the Senate is spending under or right around what our income is, that's really what I'm asking for. Other than that, they have to decide what programs to fund and then what strategic things should we invest in for the long haul. There's long-term capital planning things. There's some deferred maintenance that we can invest in because our economy is so good, and I'm all for that. There's roads and infrastructure and things that we can do one-time investments, but I'm always going to be very, very on flat budgets or making sure we stay right around what our income is. Yes, sir.
Just to go back to the OSDE, when you said that them losing that many people sounds like a good thing to me, is that to say that smaller government is better government?
That's exactly right.
That they're running as efficiently as they ever have?
Yeah, just as a general rule, when we've got smaller government, that's what I'm for. That means we have to spend less tax dollars to fund a bureaucracy. But listen, Superintendent Walters is separately elected. I don't get into the details. He runs that agency. That's his agency. The way our state's set up is we have these separately elected officials. And so I'm not going to get into how he runs his agency. He's separately elected by the citizens of Oklahoma. But I'd much rather it be 130 fewer government bloat than 130 more. So
Last question. The legislature's talking about a bill to deny
Yeah, so this is something that's really, really important that people need to understand. So when you drive on our turnpike system, okay, call me crazy, but everybody should pay the same amount that drives on our turnpike. Right now, the Cherokees, they owe the state of Oklahoma for Cherokee tags $4.7 million. At the end of this month, it's going to be over 5 million. Then the next month, it's going to be over 5.7 million. Then it's going to be, I may bring a graph next time to show you how this is coming. The Creeks, they owe the state of Oklahoma $1.8 million for these illegal tags that are running up and down the turnpikes. So that bill, all that did was it allowed the OLS, which is Highway Patrol, to be able to share the information with the Turnpike Authority so we know how to bill those people. Representative Goodwin, Representative Hardin, Representative Humphreys, Representative Kane, Representative Lowe, and Representative May voted against it. It's a head scratcher. I have no idea why you think that you should allow one race of people not to pay on the turnpikes. Furthermore, let me read you what the obligation is by the Turnpike Authority in the bonding, okay? It says the authority covenants that tolls will be classified in a reasonable way to cover all traffic so that the tolls may be uniform in application to all traffic falling within a reasonable class regardless of the status or character of any person, firm, or corporation participating in the traffic. No reduced rate of toll. The authority further covenants that no free vehicular passage will be permitted over the Oklahoma Turnpike system. So we're breaking the law by allowing vehicles to run up and down the turnpike without collecting it. I mean, I don't know why everybody's not outraged by this. And you'll have to go ask those 6 people why they think that's a bad idea. Again, that was a shocker for me. But guess what? The Indian tribes were all around the room with their lobbyists walking these halls, influencing, saying, hey, give us a special exception. We don't have to pay these fees. That's the only logical explanation, is they're being lobbied by folks that want something for free and they want everybody else to pay for it. It's going to cost Oklahomans a lot more money if we don't get this fixed. It's going to continue to escalate and escalate and escalate. By the way, I've already got compacts with the Chickasaws and the Choctaws where we share that information. So when those license plates are on the turnpike, they're able to go the pay play, or they have the toll just like everybody else. That's all we're saying, is treat everybody the same way. You'll have to ask those 6 people why they think it's a good idea to set an exemption for illegal plates running on our turnpikes.
All right, thanks, everybody. See you next week.
Thank y'all.